Buffalo, New York. I was appointed by the presiding bishop a few years ago to Church Growth and Development Director. Prior to that, I was already doing church growth and development, cross-denominational lines, and I speak that experientially. I'm a founding pastor, so I know the journey from 20 churches to 100 churches, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and to where we are today, a little around 4,000 people. One of the struggles I've had in church growth prior was going to different conferences around the country where people who weren't growing churches were teaching church growth.
All right.
And the problem was that was all theoretical. So I go cross-denominational things, ecumenical, non-denominational. But and I'm not trying to be condescending if a person didn't have a larger church, but my point is, you can't have a person that has 50 members sitting in the same row with a guy that has 500 members. They have different problems.
Right.
So church growth is not one size fit all. Contradistinctively, when you buy a church growth book, say for example by Rick Warren, the Saddleback Church, or someone like that, you have to incorporate, there's a cultural bias to it. You can't just buy that book and expect it's going to work in your black church.
Right.
There is an implicit bias that comes with church. And I'll get into that a little later. But for example, one of the church growth books said all the men should start the Boy Scout programs with their sons. Well, a lot of our churches, the father ain't even in the church. And so it's not a one size fits all. You have to consider the cultural dynamics that play in church growth and development. So as my brother, we were in the same class together, Bishop Elijah Hangerson, it's interesting that he was preceding me. Church growth and development is not evangelism. Evangelism is catching it. Church growth and development is keeping what you catch. If you ever notice in our churches particularly, the general rule is whatever you have on the roll, you have half of that in attendance. So if you got 50 members on roll, you got 25 you see. You got 1,000 on roll, you see 500. It's just the truth. I've been to Bishop Jake's church, and I know how many his church seat, and I know how many members that he had, and there's about half of that list on the roll that attend the church. I've been to Bishop Blake's church several times. I know the membership roll. I know how many people sit in the service. I preached all the services. And again, if whatever's on the roll, you generally have half of what's on in attendance. Now, one of the problems in church growth and development is we don't invest as a whole in administration. I'm going to pray in a moment, but I'm giving you an introduction. We don't invest as a whole in administration. Matter of fact, you can tell by the size of this class. This is a pastors and elders conference. A lot of pastors are here, but they're not in this class. And this class is about church growth and development. Now, again, when I go to other places, there's no room in the place. This is how it is. There's just no room in the place. So we're not acclimated to investing in administration. The first thing we generally invest in is an organist, and we invest in a music department. And so you got music, but you have no rhythm in the church because you didn't invest in administration.
Right.
And so I've had the privilege to travel to every continent in the world except Antarctica. I just haven't felt led to go there yet. And I haven't been itching to go. And so my view is a little bit more cosmopolitan than some others may be. But this is the only place, as I mentioned earlier today, this is the only place in the world where you can serve, you don't have to be trained. And the problem sometimes when you have a person who's never been in leadership and they're thrusted in leadership because they're faithful, but they're not capable, then you have what Solomon called another evil. He said, I saw another evil under the sun. He said the princes were walking and the servants were on the horses. So you're promoting people for being faithful but not being capable. And that's because we don't invest in training and development. When people in our church are called to ministry, I ask to see their credit score. When a man or woman says God called them to ministry, I want to see your credit score. Because I want to see your stewardship. So when you talk about handling the things of God, do you practice good stewardship?
Amen.
Y'all making it hard here today.
807.
But
Good job.
and so what happens, it starts to eliminate some people. It's not that you're trying to be draconian and make it difficult for people to be in ministry, but we've made it so easy that I saw a great young pastor in Buffalo's here, and then there's a pastor here in Kansas City who is a degreed chaplain. I would see people have secular degrees. They would invest in their degree, whether it's a BA or a master's. But when it came to their ministry, they had a Sunday school book and a dictionary. And that was about it. So I would juxtapose what you've invested in your secular education, and you said, but God called you to change lives and reach the world.
Amen.
I said, how much have you spent on your degree for sociology? Oh, I owe about 100,000. I invested. I said, how much have you spent on your ministry? I got my Bible, my Sunday school book, and a dictionary. So you spent about $50. I couldn't trust your investment.
All right.
Come on, Bishop.
And see, and if we don't view it as such, and believe me, I'm practicing what I preach. From whatever I wear, even what I eat, is designed to help me do ministry better.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's just real. It's just real talk. If I'm presenting my whole body as a living sacrifice, if I want to eat chicken wings, I'm not going to eat them because it's part of my assignment. I'm giving everything I got to my calling.